Marie.
And we're live.
Hi, Marie. Hi, Tim. Hi, friends.
That's such a fun intro, Tim. Way to go. Good job.
Isn't that cool? Let's
I
check
was like dancing and everything.
Well, I mean, I get so stressful, all the buttons I have to click to make sure I do them in the right order. And we should, in theory, be live on Twitter, though I haven't checked it at the moment.
I mean,
so
I bet
We are live. We are live. There is a 30-second delay, but it is live. I can see it. Hi.
Oh, you can see it on Twitter.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh.
All right, we are live with Tim and Marie, my good friend Marie, who I know from
Traveling Stories.
We worked at Traveling Stories together, and Marie and I clicked and had an amazing time, not only working with one of San Diego's most incredible, and we don't say that we mean that with our whole heart. One of San Diego's most incredible nonprofits, helping children fall in love with reading. If you haven't heard of Traveling Stories, go check them out, support them. They are doing incredible things in San Diego. Marie and I got to work with them for a couple years, and Marie is here going to tell us about her adventurous spirit, her heart for nonprofits, her heart for making a difference in the world. Marie, I am so excited you're here. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
And now Marie and Tim are besties, so we're all chat. Marie, I want to start with you and I like to go deep.
How deep do we go?
How deep can we go?
Have a show with that, which I've put an advert to here. So if anybody's interested in their show, just get your phone up, and that should take you to their. You should get your photo up.
It'll take you to our Facebook page.
Yeah. How deep can you go? And we go deep.
Up a bit so people can get their phones out and all the rest of it.
So put that on. So I'm going to start with not too deep, but I want to know more about you, and I want you to describe yourself. So tell us 3 words that most describe Marie.
Let's go with quirky and geeky, because I really geek out on technology. Mm-hmm. And let's go with emotional.
Okay. Tell us more.
Of which one? The geeky, the quirky, or the emotional?
All of them. I know that to be true about you, but
emotional has emotional connotations in a weird way. So maybe start with that and work backwards.
I wear my emotion on my sleeve. You know, if I'm happy, you'll know it. If I'm sad, you will know it. If I'm frustrated, like it's there. And I am very tuned to when I read a news that is touching. I'll immediately. You will get an immediate response from me, and I'm going to take that news. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to tell other people, because I want them to get that same response, so that perhaps something can be done about anything that is, needs to change. And as a kid, I was known as a crybaby. I was just so sensitive, I was a very sensitive child, and I'm still a sensitive being. And I must admit that I like it, because it takes me to act. It brings me to do stuff about what I see in the world.
Yes. Have you? Okay, Continue. I'll let you continue.
No, go on.
Well, I was going to ask you if you've read, are you familiar with Glennon Doyle?
Yeah, I'm currently reading Untamed.
Okay. I was going to ask you because she describes exactly what you said to the T. And so.
I don't think I'm there yet, but.
Okay. Untamed is mind-blowing. Yeah.
I haven't read any of that, so maybe you should add it to my list of.
Add it to your list, Tim. It's life-changing, and Glennon and Abby together as a couple are my two they're my favorite couple to follow. They're so real. You see a highly sensitive person and a amazing badass woman that she's married to, but not as highly sensitive, I wouldn't say. Sensitive to people, but not in the same way.
Yeah.
It's really neat to see them work together. But okay, Marie.
Great book. Yeah.
You said great book. Yeah. So emotional and then geeky.
Quirky and geeky. So quirky, just think a Bugs Bunny character. I really still to this day, I identify to Bugs Bunny, and I find just I can go and pull a skit like a Bugs Bunny bit and just throw it into life. And if something's happening, I'll be able to say, oh yeah, that's just like when Roadrunner was chasing, was being chased by the coyote, and I'll just make like a little report of that.
Yeah.
And I see myself often as a cartoon character, as you can probably guess, Christelle, just based on the kind of drawings I like to make. My drawings, as you would say.
So it's like Who Framed
Roger Rabbit. Oh my God, that movie was the first 5 minutes I thought, okay, I need to go see a heart doctor because everything is so fast and I can't, it was so hard to keep up. And the geeky, I'm a big nerd. I love technology. I love trying to figure things out. I love getting deep into, metrics and measuring devices and just making things work. It's a big passion of mine, and which is really why, like recently in watching the movie Social Dilemma and then watching it again, and I'll probably watch it yet another again, I'm troubled, because of how social media is being used to control the masses, and how people are willingly giving away so much information on themselves, allow, like take Facebook, for example, to control them even more. And that, I must admit that is frightening. So I kind of want to launch like a new hashtag, which is the good internet, which is promoting internet that is working for you, not trying to get into your wallet or into your psyche to turn you into a puppet.
Would you ever consider, like, I can totally see you doing something like creating an app or some kind of something that would turn people towards the good of social media. Well, let me ask you this, because I have seen you use social media for good. You're a social media marketing rock star, and I've seen this firsthand. Okay, you are. I've seen you as a rock star.
What instrument do you play?
What describe to us how social media can be used for good?
Well, take, for example, GoFundMe. So GoFundMe is it's now an international platform. And it's where the common people who have zero technology skills whatsoever, and say Tim, but Tim is not a good example because he has technology skills. But let's say Tim is not who Tim is. And Tim's best friend, his house just burnt down to the ground, and his insurance is iffy. It's working, but there's so much uncertainty, and it will never cover the content of his house. And Tim's friend has kids, and they need to replenish everything. So Tim goes on to GoFundMe.com, creates a campaign, puts pictures of his friends and his friends' kids and their lifestyle, shares a gut-wrenching story of the house that burned down to the ground, puts a fundraising goal, and within a month may even double that goal. So that is promote, and then you promote that through your social media platforms to get people to come and make a donation for your friend for whom you're creating the GoFundMe cause. So that is definitely an example of good that is happening. Or if I organize a beach cleanup, it's going to take me 5 minutes to get the word out to hundreds of people, as opposed to me picking up the phone or texting a whole bunch of people saying, spread the word. And then if there's a change of date, I just go on the event that I created, boom, change of date, boom, change of location, or boom, I don't have enough gloves, bring some rubber gloves if you have any, like you can get the information out. And then the movement is created and it happens with a minimum of effort and literally zero investment of money. It's just there.
This is all through GoFundMe. This is all through.
Oh, well, that was like an example of GoFundMe, but now like if you create like a Facebook event,
got it.
Cause, it's free, Yeah.
I love that. Which you have. Let's talk about this because I know that there's so much I can ask about you, Marie, but you specifically like to gather people to make a difference. And I know the ocean cleanup is one. You've been part of a healing movement for women with surfing. Touch on any of those things or both, because they're fascinating and brilliant. And this is just you doing it and wanting to make a difference.
The women surfing is actually awesome. It's a community called the Groundswell Community Project. And it started here in San Diego. They have groups and movements and events happening throughout all the way to Peru. And it's so surfing is a medium for therapy. So it's to get women out on the surfboard, and the surfboard is the tool. The goal is a very therapeutic process where you might discover where you're stopped in life, or discover about your fears, or discover about for me, it was all about the self-worth. I dropped surfing because I didn't feel I was worthy of it. Or I would see my friends surfing and go, well, yeah, she's surfing because she's this extraordinary being. And I didn't associate myself to that level of being. And then as I got out and started surfing and realized, heck yeah, I'm worthy of this. And it completely transformed my story.
How?
Well, it planted seeds of worthiness. And so that was last summer. And then fast forward to this summer where I, volunteered for a nonprofit that runs a surf camp. And I pretty much ran it. And prior to this surf camp, I was the kind of person that, I'll go and do stuff, but I kind of need someone to hold my hand to take me there, because I would have all these anxieties, like, what if I can't find parking? What if I can't find the group? What if I go to the wrong place? What if I get there and nobody wants me there? All these like what ifs that just had me stopped and kept me inside. And COVID was the perfect opportunity to hide in that what if fear. Whereas I'm running a surf camp, I jump in my car, I go out there, I go pick up the gear, throw it in my car, go to the beach, unload it, go find a parking spot at a place that is pretty hard to find a parking, then walk and grab the gear, set up on the beach. I mean, like, and doing that day in, day out, then I'm not only feeding on I'm worthy of this, but I'm strong enough to provide it to others. And it has definitely been a very transformative summer, to get there, to get to the place where I can now see myself as the strong woman who empowers others, the strong woman who helps other people face their fears. And that's a really good feeling that no amount of $150 an hour therapy could ever compare to.
Can I jump into this and make this one of those non-linear films?
I like it when you do that.
Please do, Tim.
Next thing you know, we'll be talking about volcanoes. Go, Tim.
Well, it's like you were saying about like how you got to a lot closer to where you want to be this summer because of all this surfing and everything. Yeah. But obviously, I think Christelle, may know this or may not know. But can you very briefly describe the whole period from like when you were born to now? As in, like, what are the major, if you had to describe your life in 3 minutes or something along those lines. Obviously, I'm not going to time you, but like, what are the milestones in your? What are the things worth mentioning about your life so far up to this point? Obviously, we know you're in traveling stories. We know you've had a process that you've moved through. But what about all the other stuff? Just an introduction, hence the non-linear thing. We had kind of the middle and the end, and now we want the beginning.
Yeah. So I was born in the 60s. I am the youngest of 4 girls. So I've got 3 older sisters, and each sister has her very solid niche. And me being the last, and the first thing I did is I tried to follow my oldest sister's niche and to become a musician. That did not work. I had zero talent. And then my middle sister, her niche was really all about being this hip, cool, crazy cool person. I'm a Bugs Bunny geek, quirky. I walk into walls. I don't fit the cool persona. And then I tried the athlete thing that my sister Michelle, she does the Ironman. She's an athlete. She is unbelievable. She's good at any sport she takes on. And I was not only the last kid picked for every team, but I was the bartered kid. It would get to me, and then the team that was the last to pick would be like, okay, if we take Marie, then you guys got to give us Bobby, who's your best player. And then they started bartering, and like, and you guys are aware, I hear this, right? I was really not good. And then finally I decided, my sister Michelle started riding unicycle with her friends, and I was like, okay, this is something that I can do. So I taught myself to ride a unicycle. And that's when things changed. Suddenly people were like, wait, you can ride a unicycle? And I was like, yeah, and I can teach you to ride it. So then that became my thing. And then I taught myself to juggle. And then I started doing the less traditional sports, like baseball, soccer, all that. I was crap. I was really, really crap. But I started canoeing and kayaking and climbing, and I was good at that. But those were more an individual sport. But so slowly I'm destroying my story of I'm a spaz, I'm a klutz, because I can do stuff that a lot of people cannot do. And then I discovered theater. In Canada, we play a theater game. It's improv, but we sort of take this game of theater and we interpose it into hockey. So you have a rink, like a hockey rink, 2 teams that have the jerseys, hockey jerseys. You have refs, and they have rules and timers and everything. And the audience votes for the best improv. And that just opened up my world, where I found another thing that I was good at, And then I went to college in recreation leadership because I wanted to bring this to other people, because I wanted to become the facilitator and be the one who would go find that spastic, scared, good at nothing kid, and then help them discover their talents and their skills and put the spotlight on them and have them shine for what everybody's got a talent. It's just if you have the time to find it, then you can shine, and you can let your light shine. And I believe that the more people who find their light and shine their light, the better the world is going to be. And that's how we heal the world, with everybody's light shining.
Yeah. So let's talk about the whole Canadian to US thing, because as a British person, I have great trouble telling the difference between Canadians and Americans a lot.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
From an accent point of view, as much as anything, I have encountered Canadians. Before, usually with long stick. You have to push them away. But, can you talk about how did you end up moving from Canada to the US? Was it sort of, because you kind of gone as far away from Canada as you could in the US.
Or as far away from home, because I grew up in Montreal, which is on
Okay.
the east, and now I'm in San Diego, which is down in the west, and as far south as possible. I met someone who I did this event. It's called the Ragbri, where you literally ride your bicycle across the state of Iowa. And there's like about 15,000 people. It's like a festival, and every night you're in a new town and break out the festival, celebration, blah, 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 spend the night in your tent, wake up the next day, travel to the next town, and so on. And halfway through this, it's called the Ragbri, I met someone who was racing in Oskaloosa, Iowa. And Oskaloosa has a racetrack. And all of the racers, when the race was over, they're like, hey, Ragbri's in town, let's go hang out, big party. And this person that I met, when I met him, the sensation of the universe stopping, the earth is no longer spinning, and it's like, who are you? Why are you in my path right now? And so he was crew chief of a race car team, and he ended up saying, hey, why don't you join me? I'll teach you. So I did that. I left, and we did that for 7 years, where we managed a race car operations with the World of Outlaws. And I became a pretty good mechanic. I was part of the tops of the tops, and it was fun. We joked around, saying we're just like carnies but with nice teeth, because we would set up a show in a new town, and we raced in Australia, New Zealand, raced in Canada, raced everywhere throughout the States. It was a big thing, and so that's how I ended up here. Yeah.
Tim, did you have a follow-up question?
No, I was just going to say,
are you in awe?
is it just where you ended up in San Diego then? Was that kind of the place you most liked?
Yeah, so when we were sponsored by Owens Corning, which is a pretty big insulation line here, like for buildings and homes and everything. And so in 2008, 9, 10, the construction market was just hit hard in the States. And after 3 years of the construction market being incredibly hit, our sponsor completely pulled out. So we lost Owens Corning as a sponsorship. And the owner was willing to give it another year, and we told him, no, don't spend out of pocket. This is like, it's a crazy amount, just a crazy amount of money that you spend racing at that level. So we basically dismantled the team, sold everything, jumped in the pickup truck, went for a road trip, and landed in San Diego. And then once here, we started Leonard was like, let's go look at boats. So, okay, we went to look at sailboats, and literally we bought a boat, we moved on to it, and then we traveled. We spent close to 2 years in Mexico on 2 separate long trips. And then when we came back, I realized he needed to be my boss. He went from being my crew chief to being the captain of the boat. And I was like, this is just not a life for me. So, but I love San Diego. So here I am, still in San Diego, and really, really enjoying it a lot.
So, Marie, you love adventures, and you'll jump into an adventure like I've never imagined. And what I'm going to ask? I want you to describe, and this could go anywhere because we've had this conversation about adventures. Am I allowed to ask about Peru? Because I want to know, this is like, okay.
Yeah.
Here's how I'll ask it. Just tell us about Peru, why you went, and the magic of it, as much as you want to tell us.
Sure. So first of all, I was saving money for a trip to Thailand or Vietnam with my best friend. And I get this invitation, a friend of mine who says, Marie, I'm organizing a group to go to Peru for 10 days. Mm-hmm. And it's a personal transformation. It's a life-changing event. And once you use those words, I'm in. I'm like, oh God. I am so addicted to anything personal transformation, anything growth. So I was like, okay, sign me up. How do I do this? And so we flew out to Iquitos, and then once we're in Iquitos, it's like a 1 or 2 hour bus ride to the river. Once we're at the river, it's like a 2 hour boat ride upriver in the depth of the jungle at this Ikshmi Lodge. Trying to remember, Lakshmi Lodge, deep in the jungle, and with the shamans and the local Peruvian, I guess, Indians within the tribe, and where we would set our own personal intention, what we wanted to explore within, and then have a journey, and then definitely be thrown into that intention ring, boxing gloves. Yeah, so it was when I came back from there, I get back to San Diego. It's raining. The battery in my car is dead. I borrow a booster from a friend, and until I got a new battery, I had to boost my car every single time I used it. I'm standing in the rain, boosting it, singing, dancing, having fun, and that level of deep, Sound of Music joy stayed with me for a solid 4 months. Not that joy is not there anymore, but it was like that. How long can I maintain this level of sheer blissful, untouchable happiness? It's like if I had this shield on me, and it didn't matter what was thrown my way, I would just smile and take it and roll with it and just, do what needed to be done. It was a wonderful trip.
Would you go back? Would you do it again? Or was that one adventure once in a lifetime adventure?
Every single adventure that I do, once it's done, I always say I'll do it again. And then I get all these other invitations, and it's like, right? Everywhere I've been, I've said I'll go back. I mean, like Hawaii, I've gone back to Hawaii more than once. Australia, I had the luxury and the joy of returning. But there's so many places, so many adventures, so many, like I want to go help rescue elephants in India and Vietnam. And I mean, there's a lot that I want to do. So it's like, would I do it again? I would love to. But there's other adventures that are also
waiting.
Calling.
Did you ever get to Thailand?
Not yet. It was supposed to be this year, and then COVID hit. And it's going to happen because Thailand's not going anywhere, nor is Vietnam.
No.
Yeah.
And Costa Rica, that's another place that I feel called upon to go.
For what's in Costa Rica? What's the mission there?
There's lovely surfing. And they're doing some really cool stuff in Costa Rica. There's this school where it's like this series on Netflix, and it's hosted by Zac Heartthrob Efron. And in the episode, I think it's the first episode where he visits Costa Rica, and they go and check out this school where every kid is pretty much responsible for their education. And they build, they grow food, it's not like a traditional classroom. It's nothing close to a traditional classroom.
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, oh my God, I want to work in this school. I would love to go work in this school.
Yeah, it's one of the most biodiverse places in the world as well.
Yeah.
Something like, I think like 70% of the world's species are in Costa Rica.
Really?
Wow. That's cool.
I mean, I don't think they're just there, but like,
Tim, hashtag wealth of information.
yeah, but somebody will be Googling it and find out it's 2% or something. Look at the numbers wrong.
That's phenomenal.
high number of species in the world are based in Costa Rica for some reason.
He knows all the facts. You know that we sit after the show and I just learn from Tim. I just ask him a million questions and I learn from him. Tim, I keep asking questions, so I want to make sure you get to ask what you want as well.
Well, we've determined that Marie's kind of an international woman of mystery. Most of your life, from what you've described so far, you've been traveling or kind of what I would call nomadic kind of existence. Have you ever had like long periods settled down anywhere? I mean, obviously you worked for Traveling Stories for a bit.
Well, that was. I mean, the name Traveling Stories is a little bit deceiving. You don't really travel.
Static stories.
But I've been in San Diego since 2014, so that's 6 years there.
Yeah.
Ottawa, when I first moved there at the age of 15, I stayed there until I was 20. Then I went to Alberta. Yeah, I have been a little bit. When you look at the Chinese horoscope, I'm a horse, and if you look at the definition of the horse, it fits me to a T. The unsettled, just like, oh, where else can I gallop to? I'm a horse.
Yeah, but I mean, it's because I've gone from somebody who was extremely static in where I worked and did stuff to somebody who's traveled a lot now in the last 10 years or so. Do you, like, at the moment, do you feel very limited because of the whole lockdown and everything, that you're being prevented from going to Thailand or anywhere? Or are you kind of learning the lesson of, I'm trying to think of the right word, staying in the right place for a while?
Yes and no. Oh God, do I want to talk about the hero's journey? There's this travel group. I think it's called the oh my God, they're gonna hate me if I can't remember their name. The Blue Tour Group or something. It's these two women. They're in Italy, and they organize these guided travel where they're walking tours. Where you basically, right? And there was supposed to be a guided tour in the south of France happening, basically starting like in about a week. Mm-hmm. And I was signed up to be the tour for that group, because I am French, so I'd be able to be a tour guide, and with Americans or Brits or whatnot, and be the spokesperson and make arrangements with locals and all that. And COVID has canceled that, which is, I am feeling very restrained here. I'm starting to look into how can I start going back to Canada, spending a month in Canada and then a month here, and then just bouncing back and forth, and to see how long I can make that happen. Because I really do miss home. There are people there that I want to be with, and Zoom or Facebook video calls are quite limited,
Would that be Montreal, or is it just Canada in general that you're thinking of?
It would be a combination of Montreal and Ottawa. I even have it written in my will that when I pass, I don't want to be buried. Burying is just a waste of land, but I want my ashes to be poured in the Ottawa River, because the Ottawa River runs from Ottawa to Montreal, and that way I will forever be between my two, my two like hometowns. I know, I'm so I'm a romantic.
I love it. And then if I come to Montreal, I plan to stay with you. Is that okay? Because I may have fallen in love with that city.
So, and Montreal is your halfway town to your heart. So yeah.
Marie, I have to ask you about your roller derby days. Who, what, when, where, why, and how? How did this happen?
I just so happened to be wearing a jersey.
You are?
Yeah, this is one of my, anyway. So I with my ex. We were new in San Diego, we're living on the boat, and I'm sitting there thinking, how can I build a network? How can I make friends? How do you start from scratch? Because we were both new here and kind of like starting at from zero.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I'm on Facebook, and a friend of mine whom I know from the blog, I used to blog. My Facebook was strictly attached to my blog. My real person wasn't even on it at that point in time. And so this woman who was also like a sister blogger, she posted pictures of her friends who played roller derby in Fresno, California. And I'm looking at these pictures, and they're basically like gearing up, and it's all these women, and they're strong and smiling and happy. And they just seemed like at another level. And I commented like, wow, what is this? Does this really exist? And how can I do this? And then her response was, well, check in your area. I'm sure there's roller derby there. So right away, I Google San Diego roller derby. I land on the derby dolls. And the night before they had they had a monthly initiation or introduction, and they just had it the night before. So I had to sit there for a whole month and wait before I could go to my introduction. And I signed on. And when I started, it was like, oh my God, you mean I get to discover a new skill? I get to yell and scream and be goofy and laugh my head off when I fall, face plant. I get to exploit all of my talents, my goofy quirkiness. And it was just amazing, And there was one thing, like, we have all these skills that you have to pass to get to actually play in the league. And I was on the verge of getting to where I could start playing. And then off we go to Mexico, and where poor Leonard literally had to drag me kicking and screaming because I just wanted to stay here and play roller derby. And then we were gone for 8 months. We come back, and I had to start from scratch, So I relearn the skills, get back up, just about to start playing. Boom, we go again. So this time I was gone for like, a year and a couple of months. We come back, and then I'm like, no more travels. I'm settling down. I want to live this derby life. I want to keep networking. And I got to play, 2 seasons. But my fun was in organizing more events and in coaching the kids. So I took on coaching with the kids. And it's same thing as with surfing. When you get someone to do something that, you're looking at a little 7-year-old and you say, okay, I'm going to put the jammer hat on you. And she's like, no. I really don't like pain. I don't want to. And then it's to motivate her and inspire her to go out and do it. And she does it, and she comes back and she's like, that was so amazing. And it's like, yes, and getting people to have that was so amazing feeling. That became my joy with roller derby.
So some international people may have no idea what roller derby is.
Derby. Thank you for pronouncing it. So you're on.
I was saying before the show, in England, there's a place called Derby, which is actually spelled Derby. And so we tend to just say Derby all the time, even though it's spelled Derby. So
yeah, it's Derby. So you have 2 teams. Both teams have a total of 5 players on the track, and it's an oval track, and you always go counterclockwise. Both teams have a jammer, and the jammer has a little star on her helmet. The role of the jammer is to cross the pack, go around the track completely, and then start passing other skaters. And every other skater of the other team they pass, ding, 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 it's a point. So you go around. And every other player that does not have a star on their helmet, they have one purpose: to knock the crap out of the other team. So you're just like, knocking people down to the ground. You want to destabilize the other team so that your jammer can go through faster or easier. And you have bank track and flat track. So bank track, a jam, because one round is called a jam, is 1 minute. On the flat track, a jam is 2 minutes. The jammer with the star who's in the lead can call the jam off at any time, just by hitting their hips. So you call the jam off, and that becomes a strategy. So say I'm the leading jammer and I make it through the pack. So then I'm leading, and the other person is still struggling just because you're being bounced and you're being goaded and trapped. You can't get through. Then you come around, and as soon as you bing, 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 score your 5 points, you call it off. So the other team has 0. And that becomes the strategy. Or sometimes you'll last it all the way, like the full 2 minutes on flat or the full minute on bank. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and this is all on roller skates, presumably.
Roller skates, not roller blades, but the quad skates, because it allows you to do stuff that you can't do. Like the main strategy when you're a blocker is you'll put your feet, in snowplow, and you're blocking people. Well, you can't really use your arms, but you're blocking people behind you from going forward. You can't do that on rollerblades.
Did you always play the same play? Or did you always do the same position? Or were you the person with the star on their head all the time? Or were you just the people knocking people over all the time?
My expertise is just being in the way. So I was a blocker. I was not a jammer. I mean, look at me. I'm like, and I kept saying my age to weight ratio is not in my favor for this sport, because I'm tiny and I'm old. I was like literally 30 years older than these women who weigh 75 pounds more than I do. So I'm like, but I get in the way, and that was my thing. That was like my quality. Even my own jammer sometimes would be like, I can't get around you. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You get around anything. Why can you, how am I in your way? So yeah, I was mainly a blocker or a pivot. The pivot is your helmet has a stripe and you're in front of the pack and you sort of set the pace.
Oh, okay. What do you think it taught you about life playing roller derby?
The biggest lesson I got is it's not if you're going to fall, because you will fall. It's not if you're going to fall, it's when you fall, and it's what you do after you fall.
Yeah.
So in roller derby, get back up. Like, get back up, get back up. Your team needs you. Every single player who's out is hurting the team. So get back up and play. And that's my lesson in life. It's you're going to fail. It's what you do with your failures that make the difference. It's how you use your failures as a lesson rather than as a reason to put yourself down or to scream at other people, but use it as every failure, use them as a lesson to move forward and to help other people move forward. So that's my biggest takeaway in roller derby. My other takeaway is believe in your mightiness, and you have, no matter your size, no matter your skill level, you are part of a team and the team needs you. So you are mighty in that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Marie, I like the big questions. I like how you answer them. What is success to you?
Success to me is a life that allows me to shine my light and where I bring joy. I fundamentally believe that every single human on this planet, our purpose is joy. It's joy and love. And if we fulfill on that passion, then we are bringing it to other people so that they can live their love and their joy.
Have I ever asked you the free animals question?
No. What is it?
This is good.
I'm going to ask this. I used to ask this all the time to people rather than the usual "what do you do" question or like describe yourself sort of thing. So, if you had to describe yourself using 3 animals, what 3 animals would you pick? and why?
Oh. There would be a clownfish.
Ooh.
There would be a hummingbird.
Ooh.
And there would be, is a mosquito an animal?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it's,
I kind of almost have to say, or let's go with a bumblebee. So the clownfish, I must admit, well, the very first job I ever wanted to do was a garbage man because I wanted to hang on the truck and I thought it was so cool and you get to be outside all day. But once I was, a little bit older, the career for me was to be a clown. And I trained with the women who actually created the whole clowning program with the Cirque du Soleil. I've done years of training with her. And so the clownfish, because of that aspect. Then the hummingbird, because the hummingbird is small and it's constantly moving, just constantly moving. It's full of colors. And when you see one, you're like, oh, a hummingbird. And I'm small and I do like to consider myself the kind of person that people do take notice. That people usually, even though I'm small and I'm constantly moving, I do think that I don't go unnoticed like a hummingbird. And the bee, it's that's tiny but mighty. And I love what bees do. I love that bees play such an important role in keeping, in feeding people. It's a little gesture, and it's that spreading, and from going from flower to flower, or from whatever, from bud to bud, spreading the pollen, whatever. I'm not a scientist, but it's that spreading. The power of spreading and networking and sharing information, and giving is receiving, type of mentality.
I love that, Marie. Your dream for the world. What is your dream for the world?
Oh God, I really want to live in a world that is fair, is just, is a world of love. I don't want to see people going to bed hungry. I don't want to see people being abused because of their sex, because of their color. I don't want to see humans being sold. And I'm appalled that it is still happening. I really want to live in a world that is founded in love. Pure, straight, unrestricted, unlimited love.
How do we do this? No, well, how do we do this? How do we get there?
Oh, we end with greed.
10 minutes.
We trust that love is an abundance, that there is an abundance of money, there is an abundance of food, there is an abundance of shelter and education, and you don't need to take someone else's share and hog it for yourself, because there's enough for everybody. So take what you need and give what you don't need, and just spread that, because it is there. It is there for everybody. That was my quick 2 minutes answer.
No, well, I was saying, because Christelle was like, how can we fix the world? And so I was saying, you got 10 minutes to fix the world. So.
Yeah. Honestly, if greed were not an issue, then people wouldn't take more than what they need, and they would allow others to access to,
So
whatever resource.
if you woke up tomorrow and you discovered you'd been elected president of the world, it'd be quite weird, but what would you do in your first 90 days?
Oh my God. What a question. What would I do? I would
Compulsory roller derby for
bring back Bugs Bunny. I would, oh, wow. I would eliminate borders. I would, the whole planet without borders. I'm all for that. The whole human race.
Mm-hmm.
I would open up more schools, bring more education, and break down the education system. I would open up health systems, provide health to everybody. I would, it's education and love, I would make sure people get educated that there is enough and they don't need to keep stealing and taking away from others. Wow, what a question. There's so much that needs to be done right away. Where do you start, So, but they basically, gather all the greatest minds and have these conversations of where do we start? But with the greatest minds, with the thinkers, with the visionaries, with those who, like Steve Jobs said, you might not believe in the dream, but don't get in the person's way, like the person do it. So gather these people together and try different approaches. Try something out. It doesn't work. Okay, don't worry. There's another idea up our sleeve that we can try, and just keep trying until goodness conquers over everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Christelle's turn to ask a profound question.
It's such a good question.
It is such a good question. Who has been your greatest influence, Marie?
When I was younger, there was this woman, Jacqueline Pelletier. She ended up being in a relationship with Jacinthe Bergevin, who are sort of like Glennon and Abby, I guess you can say. One of them was this facilitator who hosted a lot of these really good TV shows, talk shows, and she would ask these awesome questions, and she really helped people fall in love with their culture, with their heritage. And Jacinthe, she was a leadership trainer, and actually, I went through her programs as a teenager. And one very profound thing Jacinthe once told me was, because she was having me do stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know how, like, why are you having me do this? I have no idea how to do it. And then she goes, well, if I treat you for who you are today, you will remain that. If I treat you for who I see you to be able to become, then you will become that person. So I'm treating you there so that just figure it out and you'll get there. And these two women, surprisingly, like 20 years later, that were my big influences, fell in love with each other. And they are this amazing couple of just spreading the love and getting people to get to their next level. Always, elevating and educating and inspiring. And I did this years ago. I did this exercise called the Inukshuk exercise. And an Inukshuk is this Aboriginal pile of rocks. And in Canada, it's a sign of welcoming, because the Innu, the Inuits, they would create these as they're out gathering food. They would create some just so that they would either like bury food under there, or it would be their way to know that they're on their way back home, because you're out in a snow desert, right? And how do you find your way? So the Inukshuk was a sign of welcoming. So the exercise is you draw your own Inukshuk, and then you think of someone that inspires you. And then inside each of the stone that you've drawn, you write a quality of this person on why you admire this person. And then the big aha moment, and I'm spoiler alert, is at the end when the facilitator says, okay, at the top of the Inukshuk, I want you to write I am. Because when you are drawn to people, you are drawn to them for qualities that you see in yourself. You would not be able to see these qualities in others if you did not have them in yourself. Just like that expression of look who's calling the kettle black. When one person says, oh, that dude annoys me, he always has to be the center of attention, everyone's laughing at this person because, well, yeah, that's you. You're the one who always has to be the center of attention. So the traits that you don't like in yourself will annoy the crap out of you and other people. And it's the same thing for the positive qualities. So and now like it's almost like I can hardly separate the two. You know, when I did the exercise for the first time, I don't remember which of the two women it was that I based it on, but because they're one, they've become one now. You know, like Glennon and Abby.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was a long answer.
No, I love it.
I have a more mundane question. It's just something that interests me. Are you fluent in English and French then?
Yes, I with my family we flip back and forth without even realizing it.
So I have a question because I'm not a language person at all, really. But do you think that you think in English, or you think in French, or you think in both simultaneously, or do you think in one or t'other, or do you think in some sort of abstract way that's not associated with either language?
It depends who and what I'm thinking about. So if I'm thinking about my family, if I'm thinking about this certain individual back home, or my good friends back home, I'll think in French because that person is associated to my French, life. Yeah. Here, I think mainly in English.
Yeah.
So my thought does tend to be more in English. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It's just because it's interesting to me. Do you think? I don't know the French language well enough, even though it's probably the language I do know the best, non-English.
For being across the canal.
They say, and I'm not sure if this is an urban myth, but the Greek language has like 10 words for love in it, and like the Eskimo language has 100 words for snow in it.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's so much easier to describe in French than in English, or vice versa, in terms of words and concepts?
Can I just say what's fascinating? The first example you gave of love, and in French we have one word for love, and it's so funny because we are, like the people of love, and we don't dilute love with like. There is no such thing as like. It's love, and if you want to dilute it, you add an adjective. Like if I wanted to tell you, Christelle or Tim, that I like you, I would say I love you well, or I do love you. That is like, it's the only dilution we have is adding adjectives. Are there things that can only be described well in French? I think the only things that are harder to describe in English are things that are really appropriate to, like we have this like the French Canadian meat pie, the tourtière, and to describe it without having people go, oh, that sounds gross. It's like telling an Australian to convince the world that everybody should eat Vegemite, and we're just like, oh my god, I think I just threw up in my mouth at the thought of it. So it's the same thing with a lot of very traditional French Canadian things. I struggle to, or even my field, the field of work that I ended up getting a bachelor degree in animation culturelle. The direct translation would be cultural animation, and people think, yeah, I know that means it's cartoons, and it's like, no, not at all. And the closest translation I've come to it is to say it's, studying the research of cultural influence and change, how to cause change through culture, because the French Canadian community in Canada, we're at a threat. Like the Borg, resistance is futile, you will be assimilated. Well, our assimilation rate when I left Canada was at 75%. 20 years later, it's probably at 85% now. So we have designed an entire field, an entire industry based on the preservation of our culture. And when I try to explain that to my American friends, they're like, but who cares? Everybody speaks English. Why not just speak English? And it's like, well, why not just disappear while you're at it, you know? And to try to explain that is extremely difficult, because the one language that is not at threat in the world is the English language. So how do you explain to it when it's not just language, it's culture, it's heritage, it's history? How to explain that threat, you know? And we're the panda bears of Canada. And it's not just, we can speak English, forget about it. You know, it goes, and that's one thing that is very hard to explain in a way that will be fully understood.
I think we got a question. We're learning how to do this, but I think we got a question straight from Twitter. Is that what happened?
That other guy.
This must be one of your friends.
I have
just
no
a random guy on Twitter or woman.
Hello, that other guy. Where else do I think I could live, and why? I could probably live just about anywhere. I would love to live in Costa Rica. I would love to live in somewhere in Asia. I would love to live in France, in Italy. There's so many places where I would love to live. I'd love to live in Australia or New Zealand. I actually felt way more kinship to New Zealand than to Australia because of that. You know, you have Australia that's super big, and then New Zealand that's like, and then we're like, New Zealanders are like, we're not Australians, you know, and that's how. It's like Canadians are to the States. So I could definitely live in New Zealand and find so much joy living there. Yeah.
Waiting to travel, just waiting for that moment that we can travel again. To get on the go. Another adventure. Marie, can I go with you?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll go to England then.
I hope you don't travel here and not something.
We have lots of people to visit in England. Tim, we're coming to see you too.
Oh man, yeah. When the world opens up again, huh?
Oh my God.
The trouble is, the world isn't going to open up like just like that. It's going to be like a weird kind of like, if we go to the US, but everybody has to kind of stand on big white markers and wear masks and the rest of it for a while. But then that's going to be better than not allowing people to come in, and then gradually.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It'll be an interesting time.
Yeah. I know.
I want to go on an adventure with you, Marie. I'm waiting for you to lead an adventure somewhere. Best book you've read in the past couple of years. Oh, he's on a roll.
Well, we could start with just go swimming with the leopard sharks in La Jolla.
Yes, you put up that. You did that.
The show is ending. This is the best tradition.
That other guy has lots of questions. Let's let him ask. We'll let him ask the final question because we're going to end.
The best book I've read in the past couple of years is the book that I'm now probably reading for a fifth time. Oh, I thought there's two of them, which would be The Way to Love. And it's the Anthony DeMeo meditations. And it doesn't matter. You can random page, open it up at any page, and the message you're going to read is the message you're going to be needing to be hearing at that moment.
Thank you, Marie. Marie,
thanks for having me. This was fun.
You're supposed to ask like, where can we find out about you?
Where can we find you, Marie? Where can our friends watching you?
So on Twitter, I'm Cyber House Rules. Cyber House, like, remember the movie Cider House Rules, but it's cyber. Yeah. So on Twitter, I'm Cyber House Rules. I'm not like often on Twitter. On Instagram, it's Marbles, which was my roller derby name. So MARR Bulls, like, BULLS. So Instagram, Marbles, and Twitter is Cyber House Rules.
And you and Christelle do a show which can be accessed by getting your phone to the.
That link right there.
Or you just search for How Deep Can You Go on Facebook.
I tried to find out.
We ask the deep questions and we get real, and it's.
That's like Friday. What time is it?
Friday,
Friday.
7 a.m. Pacific time.
So we'll see you all Friday, 7 a.m.
Yeah, so much fun, and we do hope you'll come and join us. We do love delving into kind of like this talk here, you know.
Yeah. Thank you, Marie. Thank you, friends, for watching. Tim, as always, Tim is our producer. He's our rock star behind the scenes. He does it all. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you Thursday live again.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Bye.
This is terrifying for me.
I've made more money in the last 3 years than I did in the previous 7.
Cliche shit, you know.